Well, hello there, beautiful. Am I talking to the computer, or am I talking to you? I guess we'll never know. Today I'm going to give you a really in-depth look at the ASUS ROG G20CB-WS71. Seriously, that name is fucking dreadful. It's like meeting a really hot chick named Bertha. Erection eviscerated. If anyone knew how much indust it takes to get my desk looking this good, I swear to God, environmentalists would send me letters. A brief preface to this review. Today is gonna suck. I want to be upfront and tell you exactly why, but first... Seriously guys, today's gonna suck. And for those of you that are like, oh Ian, don't be so humble, you're a ginger and you always make me laugh. No, stop it. For most of you, this review is going to be way too in-depth, which is why you should feel free to stop watching the moment you get bored. Just don't forget to click the like button and subscribe before you duck out. I need your YouTube affection. First, I'm going to cover the basics of the ASUS ROG G20CB-WS71, which most of you will be interested in. After that, we're going to dive off the deep end and get really technical with a bunch of benchmarking software. This is where most of you will promptly hit the thumbs up below, hopefully subscribe, and then move on with your day. But for those of you that love technical details and spring a simmy whenever you see PC Mark 8 test results, break out the lotion and tissues. This review gives techie details in spades. The Oculus Ready G20CB-WS71 comes with a quad-core i7-6700 processor, a GTX 980 graphics card, 16GB of RAM, and a 1TB hard drive coupled with a 256GB solid-state drive. When your Rift or HTC Vive arrives, this baby is poised to deliver an above-average virtual reality experience. You'll see higher frame rates and better graphics than those that sprung for a slightly less powerful processor or graphics card. And can we take a minute to talk about how gorgeous this computer is? I've never porked a computer before, but if I were going to, I'd happily make little Android babies with this thing. You've got LED lighting across the entire front of the computer as well as underneath towards the back half of the tower. You can customize the colors here with something like 800 billion options or whatever the ASUS marketing team determined, but by default, it kind of pulsates between colors in a really soothing, I want your Android children sort of way. On the front, you've got your slim DVD burner along with access to a mic jack, a headphone jack, and two USB 3.0 ports. If you're more of a rear entry kind of guy, you've got two each of USB 3.1, 3.0, and 2.0 ports, one HDMI out, one RJ45 LAN jack, 7.1 channel audio output, and two DC in plugs for the external power supply. Personally, I think it'd be pretty difficult to argue against this tower being attractive. It has a matte black finish that'll show pretty much anywhere you ever touch it, but aside from that, it's discreet and makes a statement all at the same time. Aesthetically, it's at least a 9 out of 10. It's also incredibly quiet. At idle, it's only 22 decibels, and even when under a decent amount of strain, it's still significantly quieter than the typical gaming computer that might lead you to believe there's a helicopter attempting to land in your room. I'll talk more about that when we go through some of the technical benchmarks later. So just to wrap up here, before we get into the really technical stuff, personally, I'm very happy with the purchase. Even factoring in all of the tech specs I'm about to go over, I'd rate this computer at least an 8.5 or 9 on a scale that maxes out at 10. It packs one hell of a punch for a computer that's about 13 by 14 by 4 inches, is beautifully designed, runs quieter than any powerful PC I've owned, and will deliver an above average virtual reality experience with higher frame rates and better graphics. Considering I could only buy the components in this computer for about $200 to $300 less, and that would give me a much bulkier, louder gaming rig, I think it's an unbeatable value in the Oculus Ready lineup. If I had to make the choice again, I'd pick this one in a heartbeat. We're officially to the point in the video that most of you can stop watching. Seriously, don't forget to like this video and subscribe on the way out if you found it helpful. I'll be posting all kinds of entertaining and helpful videos about virtual reality like this one. For those of you that are looking for technical benchmarks, oh boy, I hope you've got your lotion on standby. Let's dive in and see what we've got. In here, in the PC Mark 8 test, we have a massive, I mean just massive, amount of detail. This test took, I think, about 45 minutes to run. You can see all of the components. They match the specs perfectly. Obviously, you've got the GTX 980, you've got the Intel processor, and you see the quad core. Yes, it has hyper threading. So basically, this just verifies a lot of what you see on the specs listed with the computer. But it put it through various different kind of tests, and you can see the hottest the computer got, to kind of show you what you're seeing here during this particular benchmark test, was about 69 degrees Celsius, which is just over 155 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay, that out of everything, that's as hot as it got. And you can see all kinds of information here, but I'm going to take you down to what I think is most important for how it will perform with gaming. And there are actually a couple of components of this test. You can see it took it through every single one of these, and it took it through every single one of these 3 times. It did 3 different passes. So you can see web browsing, you can click down and see all kinds of data that I have no idea what means. But the good thing is, I do know when you get into the mainstream gaming part 1 and part 2, obviously part 2, you can tell by the numbers, was a little bit more intense than part 1, and we'll actually get into this much more in depth when we get into the Heaven benchmark, the Unigine Heaven benchmark. But right here you can see the first one, we averaged right around 113 frames per second, and mainstream gaming part 2, test part 2, we averaged just over 50 frames per second. If in your mind that connects to, okay, Oculus Rift has to run at least 90 frames per second, don't let these numbers alarm you. I'll talk about that a little bit more later in this video. But you've got all kinds of different specs here. Hopefully, like I said, these mean more to you guys than they mean to me. I think you've got times on how much each one of these took, and you've got some average frames per second. A crap ton of data. And so I sat through this for 45 minutes to get one little spec basically for this video, and just hoped that the rest would mean something to you all, okay? Moving on from that, we'll cover some easy ones. So the Steam VR performance test, this computer scored not quite at the peak of Ready. I've seen computers that have a GTX 980 Ti. They kind of come all the way over here, especially if they have a 6-core processor. But since this is only a quad-core processor and a GTX 980, we're well into the Ready section. So I'm gonna see great results. I'm gonna see an above average or above minimum virtual reality experience once my Oculus Rift comes in, and when I'm using the HTC Vive as well. But it's not the absolute best you can get, which I wouldn't expect it to be. Even custom building a computer, I think to hit all of the way over on this end of the spectrum, you should probably expect to spend over $2,000, even if you're building your own PC, unless you're just finding incredible deals or buying used components. And the GTX 980 and everything else that came into this computer, after my Oculus discount, shipping, tax, everything, it came out to right under $1,700. So I'm actually really happy, especially given the small form factor. So again, you can see system specs running the GTX 980, running the Intel Core i7-6700 at 3.4 gigahertz. So you come down here, if you look in fidelity, it tested really well. It tested between high to very high throughout the whole test. It didn't drop it didn't drop below 90 frames per second even once. It didn't have any CPU bound frames. So basically what this says is your computer did really well, it's going to perform really well with virtual reality, and your USB capabilities haven't been checked. But that's fine, because we come over here to the Oculus test, and they have checked my USB. Now, an interesting thing of note, you run the Steam VR performance test, and it does this really cool thing. It takes you into the Aperture Robot Repair, or whatever it is, game that Steam has developed. It runs in the background and shows you running like it would with a virtual reality headset. And so it actually kind of puts it through some testing and kind of feels out your system. What's funny about the Oculus Rift compatibility test is, compared to the Steam VR performance test, it's basically like Oculus hired some dude to come into your house, give your computer a solid kick, and then he goes, yeah, it's fine, and then he walks away. So this one takes, I don't know, probably somewhere around a minute. This one takes like 10 seconds. And basically all it does is it goes through your computer, and it doesn't put it through any benchmark testing. It just basically says, okay, boom, you've got the graphics card, the minimum graphics card, boom, you've got the memory, minimum, boom, you've got the operating system, boom, processor, boom, USBs. Okay, so it just runs through them all really quickly, even quicker than I just scrolled through all that stuff. But I just found it funny how thorough this one is, and then how this one just kind of goes through your components and sees if they meet the minimums rather than doing any actual benchmarking. So we have now covered so much, and we have a little bit more to go. So now I want to take you into, again, I apologize if I'm mispronouncing it, but the Unigen Heaven benchmark test. I just wanted to show you the settings here. I don't want to, again, this isn't like an ultra water-cooled custom-built rig that you'd see on Linus Tech Tips, right? This is a pre-built PC, and it's a powerful one, especially for a pre-built. But I'm not going to, really run it through the ringer and turn tessellation up to extreme and turn on 3D and turn it up to 8 times anti-aliasing. I've done that and it performed okay, but I felt like those stats kind of misrepresented what this is really going to be testing, which is how well it's going to perform with virtual reality. So I have kind of bumped up the settings to be a little intense on it, fairly intense on it. I bumped quality up to ultra, which is the top, and I bumped tessellation from disabled up to moderate, okay? This particular benchmark test is really GPU heavy. It's really going to put a heavy test on your graphics card, and it's going to take a little bit of time to initiate. So after I hit run and it starts going, I'm going to make sure to come back and show you the conclusion, show you what the benchmark comes back as, and talk to you a little bit about it. But I want to cut away after I click run here and show you a little bit about the computer itself. I'm going to shoot some footage of the computer, the way it lights up, and also hopefully get a good gauge to show you how quiet it is.
All right, so here we are taking a look front-facing at the ASUS ROG G20CB-WS71, and it's really a beautiful computer. And the reason I wanted to record it while this particular GPU test was running was because this is as loud as I've heard the computer get, which I'm going to hopefully kind of be able to show you by taking my lavalier microphone off, which may sound kind of thumpy and harsh, and getting it kind of as close to the computer as it is to my mouth as I speak right now. So excuse me while I kind of thump on the microphone. I'm going to try and get it as close to, because I can barely hear the computer right now. Actually, I'm in my living room right now. Right next to me is my kitchen. When my refrigerator is running, I can hear the refrigerator louder, as it's 15, 20 feet away, than I can hear the computer itself. I mean, it is very, very, very quiet, even when it's running something pretty intense and getting pretty hot. So I'm going to take off the mic. Sorry for all the thumping. And I'm going to set the mic as close to the computer as it was to my mouth as I was just recording right now. So if I get pretty close to the computer, I mean, I'm showing that on my kind of audio monitor on my camera, it's not picking up any sound at all. I'm going to try and go kind of from the side since the front didn't work out. And still, I don't really show that anything is registering. So what I will say, I'm going to walk away because this is a wireless microphone. I actually have a MacBook Pro, not the latest generation, but the generation before that, and it's got the i7 processor and all that stuff. Obviously, as Palmer Luckey said, they just don't make graphics cards that are going to run virtual reality. But obviously MacBooks and MacBook Pros are known for being ultra quiet. Apple kind of doesn't like to turn on the fans unless they absolutely have to. And when I render a video on my MacBook Pro, that computer is louder than this ASUS, which I think is very, very noteworthy. So with all of that in mind, now that we've kind of taken a look at the computer on my dirty hardwood floor, I want to take you back in and show you the results of the test and kind of talk to you about a little bit more and wrap this review up.
All right, so if everything has gone according to plan, you should be able to see the results of the Unigine Heaven benchmark. And overall score was 2545. Honestly, again, doesn't mean a whole lot to me. I don't know how high that scale goes. Plenty of you watching this review will, and I apologize for not being informed enough to tell you. But you can see at its most intense part of the test, it went all the way down to 30 frames per second, which is semi-acceptable for most games if you're running them on a computer monitor, but not really acceptable for virtual reality. So what I do want to point out is the games that are being put on the Oculus Rift and the HTC Vive are designed very specifically and optimized for virtual reality. This test, unfortunately, is not virtual reality specific. So when you see that dip all the way down to 30 frames per second, especially with an above recommended graphics card, I would say don't worry too much. I think the Steam VR test was much more telling in that regard, where it said we never once dropped below 90 frames per second. Yeah, just remember that developers on the Rift and the HTC Vive are definitely going to optimize for a minimum of 90 frames per second, at least on the Rift, and I think the HTC Vive as well. So don't take that to heart too much. You can see our maximum frames per second were 196.2, and again, you just see all the same specs you're seeing everywhere else. You're seeing, that I'm running Windows, I've got that processor, I got that graphics card, etc. So I'm going to go ahead and close out of here. I'm gonna close and quit. There are our credits, and I'm gonna go ahead and minimize this bad boy. That does it. This has been a review of the ASUS ROG G20CB-WS71. Sorry, I've said it so many times now, my brain's fried. I hope it was helpful. My name is Ian. I'm the Virtual Reality Ginger. I run this channel, and I want to make sure that virtual reality is simple and easy to understand for everyone, and that's the mission of this channel. And hopefully, I know it was hard in this video, but typically I try to make things pretty entertaining as well. So if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up down below. Also, if you want to see more videos and receive notifications when I review an app or a game or a piece of technology, I'll be getting the Oculus Rift, the HTC Vive in shortly. Both are on pre-order, and I've got the PlayStation VR on pre-order as well, but that's several months out. I'll be posting unboxings in 4K Ultra HD, and I'll also be posting reviews for every single one of those things, head-to-head comparisons, and all of the tips and tricks you need to know as someone that's getting into the virtual reality world. So don't forget to subscribe as well. Please like the video, please subscribe. Again, my name's Ian, the Virtual Reality Ginger, and I'll see you all in another video soon.